So one portion of the evening last night at the DNC, they brought together some of the former presidential contenders for casual conversation, moderated by Cory Booker. And there was one exchange in particular that just really, really irritated me. Let's take a listen.
And I often think some people who say they don't know if they're going to vote or not are saying that from a point of privilege that a lot of Americans don't have. There are so many things for lots of folks who live life on the margins that this election is going to decide. And maybe it's not a life or death issue for you, but we are all in this together.
Absolutely.
Cory, what I would say is that this is clearly the most important election in the modern history of this country. And Joe Biden, you have a human being who is empathetic, who is honest, who is decent. And at this particular moment in American history, my God, that is something that this country absolutely needs. And all of us, whether you're progressives, whether you're moderates or conservatives, have got to come together to defeat this president.
So here's the thing, that it just really irritates me when they do this non-voters are coming from a place of privilege argument.
Especially because they're the least privileged people in America.
Just factually, right? Yeah. Factually, if you look at it, and we've looked at the research, right? First of all, about 40% of voting age Americans, eligible Americans, did not vote in the last presidential election.
And don't feel that bad about it.
So you're talking about a huge number of Americans. All right, let's start with that. Then you look at who those people are, and they are disproportionately the most marginalized people in our society. People who have high school educations, people who are stuck in the working class or the lower class, in poverty. Those are the people, by and large, who do not vote. Why do they not vote? You know, Jamie Harrison, actually, I wish we had pulled this ad, but you should take a look at this online. He has a great ad that he's playing against Lindsey Graham in South Carolina where he talks about going and knocking on someone's door and asking for their vote. And the man says, do you see this dirt road out here? Doesn't matter whether there's been a Democratic or a Republican president, year after year after year, that road still has the potholes, never gets paved, my life never changes.
Yes.
Or like the calamari guy.
Yes.
Who said,
same
you know
thing.
what? All that changes with these people is the prices go up and the rich get richer and I'm getting stuck with the tab, okay? Those are the types of people that you're talking about who don't vote. And if you think that shaming them over that is going to work, it's not going to work. So you're wrong on the substance and you're wrong on the strategy, and that is what drives me insane about this whole conversation.
You're also correct, and he's completely not. Let me read you from the Knight Foundation. They've done a definitive study of the 100 million Americans who do not vote, okay? This is the first takeaway from their study, which took years, a lot of data. Many non-voters suffer from lack of faith in the electoral system and have serious doubts about the impact of their votes. Takeaway number one. Number two, non-voters engage less with news and are left feeling uninformed because they feel that the news is too partisan in both directions and are turned off by it, and that actually makes them. So vote shaming by news personalities actually turns off the very people who you want to vote. Next takeaway, while less partisan, non-voters are evenly divided on key issues and on President Trump than active voters. So they are disproportionately, despite being the most marginalized, are not, one way or the other. And what that says is it's not a partisan message that is not being activated towards them. They feel lack of faith in the entire system. All institutions, conservative non-voters, liberal non-voters. And then this is the biggest one of all. The emerging electorate is less informed and less interested in politics because they hate the existing political system, the existing institutions, and politicians like Cory Booker who tell them that they are the problem.
That they're the reason.
More you try and shame somebody, the more they'll just say, screw this, man. And we have the data. It's right here, which is that overwhelmingly they feel like their vote doesn't matter, and they use the word rigged to describe the electoral system.
Well, it's also, there's a little bit of a tension between a lot of last night was spent talking about voting rights and voter disenfranchisement. There's a little tension between that message and which acknowledges the fact that intentional barriers are constructed to keep people from voting, that voter suppression is a real thing, that it's a real tactic, that it works. on the one hand, and then on the other hand being like, voter shaming. If you're not voting, it comes from a place of privilege. And look, I do believe we need to engage in electoral politics. Obviously, that's why we do this show.
Yeah.
I will be voting in the fall, but I just always get so upset and think it is such a disservice to all Americans when you start painting with a broad brush, when you start dismissing, again, 40% of Americans you're dismissing as too privileged to go out and bother to vote and not caring about the issue, not really affected by the issues. Anytime you do that, I think it does profound damage to the unity of this country and the ability to actually push progress and change. So that's why it really frustrates me.
Completely agree.
All right, more Rising for you after this.